Hi, and our next speaker is the Right Honourable Anne-Marie Trevelyan, Minister for Business, Energy and Clean Growth of the UK, who is joining us live from London. She was just appointed to this job on January 8th, and previously she was the Secretary of State for International Development. Our talk with Minister Trevelyan today will mainly focus on the UK's action plan for 2021 to advance its green industrial revolution in the energy sector, which was announced in October 2020 by the British Prime Minister Boris Johnson. Minister Trevelyan, welcome to Davos Energy Week.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute pleasure to be with you.
Right, and last year's announcements put the United Kingdom in the spotlight of the discussion of the global energy transition. After the Prime Minister's announcement of the 10-point plan, two key documents were released by your government: a short strategy document in November and a white paper in the last days of 2020. The key focus of our discussion with you today will be the white paper and its implications on the UK-based and international businesses, many of whom are now listening to you just right now. So the first question is the following. Since the white paper mostly outlines strategic steps to be taken within the next decade, we want to dig deeper into the tactics and action plans for the medium and short term. As most of today's leaders won't hold their offices in 15 years, we want to know how to assess the current progress of these long-term strategies. Can you please outline the key milestones and how are you planning to reach them on energy transition in the next 2 years?
Well, firstly, let me start by thanking you for inviting me to speak at this event. As you say, I'm newly into the portfolio and I'm really excited about taking it up because it's such a crucial time and working with so many of those, as you say, who are with us today in making sure that we can deliver what is a really important long-term strategy. So within the question that you ask, I expect to see significant progress actually over the next 2 years to deliver from the Prime Minister's 10-point plan and our energy white paper. So firstly, in terms of big infrastructure, I think we'll see further deployment of offshore wind and other renewables as we run a further auction round of contracts for difference towards the end of this year. So this is going to keep us on track to have that 40 gigawatt of offshore wind by 2030 that the Prime Minister has committed to. So we'll be taking forward negotiations with EDF over a new nuclear plant at Sizewell, including over the financing arrangements, and we'll be settling the business models which allow project sponsors to bring forward that new CCUS and hydrogen projects, which are so important to this net zero outcome. So we want to establish 4 clusters, 2 by the mid-2020s and a further 2 by the end of the decade, which will be a critical part of this picture. And of course, 5 gigawatt of low carbon hydrogen production capacity by 2032 as well, rather than 2032. So we'll be working with Ofgem to ensure consumers continue to get a fair deal in the energy retail market. We've got the price cap in place, but we're looking to take further steps which tackle the loyalty penalty faced by consumers who don't proactively engage the market for best deals. They need to become customers, active customers. So we'll be consulting by the end of March on how to facilitate greater competition, for example, perhaps through collective switching of consumers away from default tariffs, so we can support the rollout of the most effective mechanisms later into the 2020s. And of course, we'll continue to invest heavily in programs that target low-income and vulnerable households so that they are able to manage their energy bills. I think it's really important to note that beyond the white paper itself, we're going to set in place detailed sectoral plans over the next few months for heat and buildings, for industrial decarbonisation and for hydrogen, which will set out how we reduce emissions from these sectors particularly. And before COP26 later this year, we'll deliver a net zero strategy, which will bring forward a comprehensive plan across all sectors for transitioning to a net zero economy, delivering on our carbon budgets, and really making the most of new growth and employment opportunities across the UK.
Great. And we also learned a lot about the 10-point plan's ambitions to create more jobs inside the UK. Our audience today are mostly energy and energy-related businesses who want to hear more about the business and investment opportunities that the green industrial revolution will create for them. Can you please elaborate how those UK companies as well as international companies will benefit from this during the next 2 years?
I think, Russell, you're so right to highlight the opportunities that 10-point plan offers. The plan's going to put the UK right at the forefront for the future, positioning us to take advantage of export opportunities in new global emerging markets in low carbon technologies and services such as for renewable energy, electric vehicles, smart green finance, really providing jobs and supporting levelling up. And we want the UK and foreign companies to be part of this revolution with us. Because this isn't something that government can decide alone. So we're mobilising £12 billion of government investment, but we hope to unlock 3 times as much private sector investment. So there's going to be plenty of opportunity for private companies. For example, we've set ambitious targets in offshore wind that will offer real opportunities for investment. The next contract for difference allocation will be open in late 2021, and we're seeking to achieve up to 12 gigawatts of capacity. In the longer term, our 40 gigawatt target will encourage around 20 billion of private investment into the UK. And we'll also invest 160 million into modern integrated port-side offshore wind infrastructure, so important for the whole programme, but also providing high quality employment in some of our coastal towns. So in clean hydrogen, we will support our ambitions through a range of measures, including we've got a £240 million net zero hydrogen fund out to 2024-25, which is going to be focused on production and bringing forward next year detail on hydrogen business models and the revenue mechanism that will support them so that we can stimulate private investment in that low carbon hydrogen. There are also going to be areas, opportunities like CCUS, of course. We're supporting this with £1 billion of funding to have 4 carbon clusters up and running over the course of the 2020s. And as part of the National Infrastructure Strategy, we've announced the creation of a new infrastructure bank for the UK. This is going to help to catalyse private investment in support of our commitment to transitioning to net zero by 2050. So I hope that gives you a good initial insight into some of the opportunities that the 10-point plan is going to offer.
This is really great news. And now, as a co-chair of the Power Past Coal Alliance, I wonder if that would be your priority to encourage some of the developing countries to join this alliance, especially some maybe of those countries in Europe, such as Ukraine, for example.
I think across the board. So I've in my role as DFID secretary before this posting, this was an issue that we were very keen to support, and I think the Power Past Coal Alliance is absolutely driving that message, and we welcome and encourage all countries to come and participate and find ways to move their power economies away from coal towards renewables and low carbon solutions. And I'm looking forward to working with my colleagues in the Department for Trade to really build those alliances and support countries who want to make those transitions. It's not easy, and every country has its own both history and challenges by virtue of geography and economics. But the Powering Past Coal Alliance is there to really try and drive this forwards and help the whole world step away from that coal requirement to lower carbon solutions.
Thanks a lot. We also know about your big plans for nuclear energy. The Hink Point C project, the #1 project in the field, is expected to become operational by mid-2020s. What are the key milestones needed to be achieved in the next 2 years for this project to be on track? What are the steps you expect from the 2 major investors, the French EDF and the Chinese CGN, and how are you planning to help them?
So Hink Point C is being funded and built by its investors, so not by the UK government. So the schedule is really a matter for them. But obviously, having said that, you're of course right to identify that the next 2 years are a really important part of the project development. We're expecting to see the power station rise from ground level and begin to more closely resemble the feat of extraordinary modern engineering construction that it is. There'll still be lots of work to do from 2023 onwards before fuel can be loaded and the power station started up. But the course, I think, will be set over the next couple of years. So in terms of what we expect from the 2 major investors, well, it is their project and they have plenty to be getting on with. And I don't think it would be right for me to make additional demands of them. But I would certainly hope that they're going to continue to work really well together and to continue to make sure the site gets what it needs when it needs it, to integrate the contribution from suppliers from all around the world to complete this phenomenal job as safely and as quickly as possible.
Great. You already referred to the Net Zero Innovation Program, which is one of the key drivers of the whole energy transition process. There are a few big numbers there, and the most significant one is probably the 1 billion Net Zero Innovation Fund. Can you outline the plan where this money will be invested and what will be the key investments and competitions to be launched in the next 2 years?
Absolutely. So the portfolio for our Net Zero Innovation Fund is going to focus on 10 priority areas, which of course match up with our 10-point plan. So floating offshore wind, nuclear advanced modular reactors, energy storage and flexibility, bioenergy, hydrogen, of course, all the questions around homes, direct air capture and advanced CCUS, industrial fuel switching, and disruptive technologies like AI for energy. So we've launched the first phase of a £100 million investment in brand new direct air capture and greenhouse gas removal. That was back in November, which captures carbon dioxide emissions directly from the air. Will provide £100 million for energy storage and flexibility innovation challenges. Essential technology, I think, as we move towards an increasingly renewables heavy system to allow us to store energy over hours, days, and even months. So there's much to do, and I think it's going to be a really successful fund.
An announcement about the Clean Tech £40 million venture capital fund. Can you please tell us more on the details and the timeline and goals and how our energy startup companies which are participating in the Davos Energy Week from around the globe could get a chance to compete for those investments?
So we're going to be rolling out a number of things. Obviously, as I'm newly in post, I'm still getting to grips with the details, but this is such an important year for the UK, both with our COP presidency and the opportunity, having set the Energy White Paper in place, to work with all those who want to be part of this extraordinary net zero revolution that we are determined to achieve. And there's a huge journey to go on, and we want to have all those who want to be part of it in there, helping us build those innovations and be part of the future success.
Also about the upgrading of the UK's energy grid. In our conference, there is a special panel on decentralization of energy grids with the use of blockchain technology. In your white paper, you are outlining the concept, which, when fully realized, fully implemented, will make the UK's grid one of the most advanced in the world. By when do you think the UK consumers will be able to fully enjoy the concept of being active market players, using their home solar panels, wind turbines, car batteries to supply electricity into the grid, charge at times when it is most economically feasible, and control their consumption using smart meters and tariffs?
So if I had a date for you, wouldn't that be fantastic? We would be well ahead of ourselves. I think you set out exactly the vision that we have, and that's part of the detailed work that's going on this year. And by the time we publish the net zero strategy in the autumn, we will be able to see the complexity of the change. And I think one of the interesting challenges there is the change in consumer behavior from being a passive consumer of power and energy as provided as we do now, to being that active participant and part of the grid. So there's a huge amount going on to really cohere how we move our present systems into a much more adaptive and flexible system where the customer, where you and I are absolutely integral to the delivery of both clean and low carbon energy into the system, and that we maximize how we use it most efficiently. Because I think one of the challenges, and we look at COP26 and what we're challenging ourselves as a planet to do, is to think exactly how we can most sustainably but also efficiently use the energy resources. So within the zero carbon generation using renewables, but also the other energy sources that we all as a planet want to use, we must be more sustainable and more efficient. And the consumer being part of that revolution and accepting their part in it, and how they can harness their own part of the global picture, is going to be so important. So there's work to do, but hopefully by the time we publish the net zero strategy in the autumn, we'll have a much more detailed picture of what that route map looks like.
Minister Trevelyan, thank you very much for this open and honest talk about the most crucial issues of the UK's energy transition. We look forward to hearing more exciting news this year on how your team revolutionizes the British energy sector, as well as creates more jobs and business opportunities for energy professionals from around the world. Thank you.
Russell, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.